Welcome to WGU Live. I'm Melissa Flores, the Vice President of State Affiliates and National Partnerships. Happy to be with you today and to talk about state affiliates from a chancellor's perspective. And I'll tell you what, you couldn't have better timing for us to have this conversation today, because on June 21st, we launched our 8th state affiliate, WGU Ohio. It was a fabulous launch. It took about 4 years for us to get that launch, and a couple of years ago, we established this incredible partnership with the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Through that partnership and the 23 community colleges in Ohio, we have over 1,000 students that have transferred to WGU so that they can continue to achieve their career dreams, success for education. So we have had a fantastic ride with Ohio. We look forward to many more students and that many more graduates to meet the needs of the workforces in the state. You probably know, but just in case, WGU was founded in 1997, and one of our founding governors said it best. Mike Leavitt said, WGU was created by the states for the states. And isn't that the truth? Because today, our 8 state affiliates comprise 40% of the overall enrollment for the university. So we have a lot to be proud of. And today we have our Chancellor Panel with us. And I would first off like to introduce Tonya. Tonya Drake is our WGU Washington Chancellor. So welcome, Tonya. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Melissa. Super excited to be here. And if we have any night owls from Washington, I'll ask you to give me a little heart on the Facebook Live. Super excited to be a part of WGU Washington for the last 2 months now.
Yep.
Had a wonderful welcome with commencement on day 3 in Seattle. Welcome wonderful graduates, both in our graduate program and our bachelor's program. So a wonderful start.
Right, it sure was. Day 3, she was up there doing commencement for our regional commencement, which had students from 38 states, including the state of Washington, walking. So that was just such an exciting time for us. So let's see. WGU Washington just surpassed 10,000 students, right?
We did. We're super excited about the graduates. And 10,000 is a huge accomplishment. As a matter of fact, we rolled out a scholarship in celebration of that for $10,000 and awarded that to 3 individuals across the state. So we're excited about those accomplishments. In the last couple of months, we've been building on our partnerships. We have great collaboration across Washington. And so we've been taking a collective impact model and working with our partners, our policymakers, and the press to really showcase the successes of our students, our partners, and we feel like together working as a state that we can serve the needs of our graduates in Washington.
That's great. Appreciate the quick overview. We'll have plenty of time to go back and ask supplemental questions and get more into it. But thank you so much just for the introduction and great things happening in Washington, Tonya.
Thanks, Melissa.
Next, I'd like to introduce Spencer Stewart. Spencer is our WGU Nevada Chancellor. And Spencer, you guys have really enjoyed a pretty incredible partnership with Clark County School District. Tell us how that came about and the results of that partnership.
That's right. Before I do, I just want to say Washington is a fine state. It's a very fine state, but I represent the great state of Nevada, and WGU Nevada has been in existence since June of 2015, and it really was shepherded by Governor Brian Sandoval and his executive team and the legislature. And in the last 3 years, we have seen some really promising growth within the state. And one of our key partners has been the Clark County School District, which is one of the larger school districts across the country. Has over 300,000 students, about 40,000 teachers. It's a big player within Nevada. And so coming on board, the thought was, how do we truly partner with such an integral organization? It's making sure that every kid has a qualified teacher in his or her classroom. And so one of the things that we did, in fact, this was really fun. We're in our third year now, with a program that they really have gotten behind. We put it on the table, but it's designed to reduce bullying that happens within the school district. We actually introduced it to a Northern
Wait,
Nevada.
did you say bullying?
Bullying.
Oh, I thought you
yes.
said bowling. Like, really? Bowling?
Well, we do bowl. Listen, we do bowl, and we take our bowling very seriously in Nevada.
Leagues and everything?
Yes. So this is an anti-bullying campaign, and so we've. It's wonderful because we've had the high school seniors and juniors a part of this program. They're the ones that actually do the project. They design these benches, and these benches are put in a very visible location on the campus, and it signals to peers and students that if they're having a really rough day or they're just looking for a friend, they'll go to this bench, they'll sit on this bench, and it will signal to their peers, hey, this is someone that I need to pay special attention to. And in our first year, we had 20 schools. In our second year, about 40 schools statewide. At our last ribbon cutting, we had these fifth graders kind of do this reenactment of how one goes about doing this. And then we had the high school juniors and seniors there talking about their project. And then we had the school board trustees talking about what this means. And so it was this full circle effect of what education does for a community. And that really is what we try to do. It's this intergenerational notion of improving the lives of our students, parents, grandparents, you name it, everyone across the state.
That engagement from a community perspective, you can't get that unless you're local, which is another benefit of the state affiliates. I know you guys see it all the time, but I think that's a great, that's just a great example of bringing that home. That's great, Spencer. Thank you.
You bet.
Great. Well, we launched North Carolina in October, and Catherine Truitt is here with us representing North Carolina for the Chancellor there. So about 9 months, right? Launched in October.
Yes.
Tell us about the game plan. What's going on? What are you planning to do to spread the word for WGU North Carolina?
It's very, very exciting to come in at the beginning of a new state because you really are in startup mode, and it's very exciting to have that clean slate and to really use what you know about your state to try and meet the state's needs and the needs of the citizens. We North Carolina is the 9th most populous state in the country, and we have about 80% of our counties with a rural designation. So we have.
So what's that? What does rural designation mean?
A rural designation just means that it has been classified as a rural county. So, in other words, there is maybe less infrastructure in that county, less access to higher education, perhaps some lower income types of counties. So challenges. And so part of our strategic plan for North Carolina is to do that outreach, to really expand education to those counties, especially because we have recently become the first state to have robust Wi-Fi in all of our K-12 learning spaces throughout the state, the first state in the country, and we're so
in
proud
all
of that.
those rural counties, there is Wi-Fi accessibility.
That's correct. In every learning space, so in the libraries, in the classrooms, et cetera. We even have buses in North Carolina that have Wi-Fi for students in rural communities that have long commutes.
That's great.
And so what's coming on the heels of that is what we call the last mile, which is an initiative out of the Lieutenant Governor's office to get the last mile, which is the western part of the state, connected with that same level of broadband. Because we really want to be able to say, yes, every single citizen in North Carolina has access to higher education. And so that expansion of opportunity is really one of the reasons that the legislature in North Carolina wanted to have a state affiliate in North Carolina. And also because our 4 colleges, which are IT, Teachers College, Business, and Healthcare, 3 out of those 4 colleges represent worker shortages in our state.
Yep.
So it really is such a perfect match between WGU North Carolina and the state. So we're just super excited to be offering all of those courses and ready to change people's lives.
Yeah. It's a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Angie Besendorfer is our chancellor in Missouri. Angie, like Catherine, has been on board since basically the launch, pretty darn close to the launch of WGU Missouri. WGU Missouri is celebrating an incredible victory that has been a long time in the making. Tell us about that.
Since almost day one. Well, before I start there, I have to do a quick shout out to my, fellow Missourians. And so if you're out there and you're following us on Facebook today, then give us a big show me, or I'm showing you if you're a WGU student, because we are the show me state. And so a shout out to the Night Owls in Missouri. And then I do want to share with you that we have big news about our bill. So we've been working really hard for about 3 years now, trying to pass legislation so that WGU Missouri students can be eligible for what we call Access Missouri funds, which is really just state grants. So, some of our students receive federal grants, and then this now makes Missourians eligible for state grants. And so it's a big deal. We have 998 students last fiscal year who would have qualified for this money if we had already had the bill passed. And that would have been the equivalent of $2.7 million to those students in grants. So it's a big deal that we finally got this done, but I think I couldn't talk about this without talking about Capitol Day and just the fact that we had Missourian students and alumni that came out and helped us each year to educate our legislators. And so if you happen to go and spend time at the Capitol for us, helping us with testifying or coming to Capitol Day, then give us a big like, because we know that you certainly were helping us make this happen, and it matters so much to Missourians today and for years in the future. It's so exciting.
It really is. And your work and the tenacity to make this happen, not just with you, your team, Missourians, WGU, graduates, alumni, current students, is really what made this happen. And it's truly about just accessibility for any Missourian. It doesn't matter what what school you go to. This is about having that needs-based grant and the access for that.
Well, and because our students are older, typically, then they've paid taxes. Right. So why shouldn't they not be eligible for this taxed money that can come back to them? I think it's really important that we do that. But it's something that, for me, you think about the history of what I did. I was a teacher, principal, superintendent in high poverty areas, hoping 12 years mattered. And now in 3 years we can change the life of a whole family. Yep. And this bill helps us to do that. We can break poverty cycles. So I'm super stoked about this.
As you should be.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's a big one. Steve,
yes.
Our chancellor in the Lone Star State, right?
That's right.
Yep. So your background comes from the community college system. What do you think, what's happening in Texas as it relates to community colleges with partnerships? Tell us about that.
Sure. Before I do that, I have to, in deference to all of my fellow chancellors, point out that I represent the only state that was its own country for 10 years. So if there's any folks from the Lone Star State out there, please like us. So WGU Texas is almost 11,000 students today. When we will hit our 10,000th graduate sometime later this fall. We've seen incredible growth. One of the places that we see real growth opportunity is with partnerships with our community colleges in the state. My background, I spent about 13 years working for the Community College Association in Texas, so I understand the community college sector quite well. Currently, there's about 750,000 credit students enrolled in community colleges in Texas.
How many?
750,000.
Wow.
So there's an enormous opportunity. Now, out of the 50 colleges in the state, 10 of them enroll about 70% of those students. Okay. They're in the largest metro areas, as you might imagine. Our goal in this next year or two is to really make those relationships robust, both at the state level with the state association, but also at an institutional level, so that we can really map from the guided pathways model, which is an AACC initiative, the American Association of Community Colleges, into WGU programs. I see enormous opportunity there. Texas is an incredibly fast growth state. In fact, we're almost 29 million people now. The latest census update has Texas become a majority Hispanic state by 2022, and even many of the metro areas are growing quickly. We Fort Worth recently surpassed Indianapolis as the 15th largest city in the country, and so there are enormous opportunities there, and there's an enormous amount of need too in a state like Texas.
You bet, and WGU Texas fits part of that need.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You know, I have to acknowledge two of your colleagues that are not joining us
Yeah.
this evening because they are out representing WGU on a national scale for us today. But one of those chancellors is Dr. Kim Estep. Kim and Tennessee are celebrating 5-year anniversary, and talk about the support that's gone on in that state with Governor Haslam's Drive to 55 and Tennessee Reconnect. WGU Tennessee has been an integral part of that. So we acknowledge Tennessee and we acknowledge all of the WGU Tennessee students and alumni and our partners in Tennessee for helping us to make that successful. And also Dr. Allison Barber, who is our chancellor in Indiana, is also out representing WGU on a national scale for us tonight. And you know, WGU Indiana was our very first state affiliate in 2010, and it was Mitch Daniels, the governor at the time, who said, you know, he was one of our board of trustees and said, I want more of this in my state. So bravo to Mitch for saying, hey, we know this is the right thing for WGU and for our states. And so we brought it to Indiana. And Allison was our first chancellor, and she now, and the state now celebrates over 5,700 graduates for the state. So way to go, Hoosiers. That's great work there. Great work. Tonya, can you tell us a little bit more about WGU Washington and the effect of technology, right? That is just a huge tech state. Tell us about what's happening and how we're helping Washingtonians from a technology perspective and our tech college.
Well, you've heard Seattle be called the Jet City. I think it's turning into Cloud City with all of the tech companies coming up from the valley. And it's growing fast. And it's very innovative in nature, embraces change at a very quick speed. And so we're looking forward to all the new rollouts, including the cybersecurity and the computer science degrees have been very well embraced in the Seattle metropolitan area. So we are looking forward to seeing that college grow. I think one of our focus areas is also ensuring that women in technology is also represented and underrepresented groups in the area as well. And so I think there's lots of opportunities as we move forward. And I think we're only going to see it grow. I think the fun intersection that we're seeing also in IT is not that it's just siloed within certain companies, but IT is really making its way into the healthcare fields and into education and into business. And so these natural collaborations amongst the colleges around IT is also fun to see the interdisciplinary connection. As we go meet with partners, I think there are strong concerns around cybersecurity, whether it's in the military, which is a really big discussion topic right now, even to banking that we're seeing across the country. And so I think it will continue to grow.
Well, cybersecurity is one of our fastest growing programs at the moment, and we also just launched our computer science program on June 1, so we also have that program available. Anyone else experiencing with partners a focus in IT and success stories that you might want to share about partners within IT?
So once again, back to community colleges. Austin Community College is one of the largest in the state. They've recently rolled out Associate of Arts, of Applied Science, in cybersecurity that is completely competency-based. We're working with them to map that directly into the WGU program. I think in cities like Austin, similar to Seattle or San Antonio with the military presence and USAA being there as well as the Dallas market with high tech and banking, we see cybersecurity as a very fast growth market, helping to grow the IT college. I don't know about the rest of you if you've seen.
My students just love it, though. Our IT students, they like their computers,
Yeah.
and so getting online and being able to be in charge and be empowered of their learning to be able to go as fast as they want to is something that really the IT students embrace. And I think that the thing that I hear from them the most is how they appreciate that they get certifications along the way at no extra cost. And it's like they just celebrate that with me. When I'm with them, they're like telling me those kinds of stories. So shout out to my Missouri IT people. So.
Terrific. Thanks. Catherine, you launched in October, and out of the gate, one of your first priorities was military.
Absolutely.
Tell us why North Carolina, what the partnership is looking like, how did you start it, what are your expectations?
So a couple of things went into that decision, Melissa. The first one being that North Carolina is the fourth most has the fourth most military population in the U.S. We have about 20,000 military personnel separating out of Fort Bragg, for example, every year. And that doesn't even include our other bases. On a personal note, I am the wife of a Navy man, and I had to finish my degree while we were moving around, and this was pre-internet, and if we had WGU back then, it would have been so much easier for me to finish my degree, but that wasn't an option. And so a lot of the outreach that WGU does is not just for the soldier or sailor, but also for those dependents and the families of the military, which it means a lot to me. The first thing that we did to really jumpstart our military presence in North Carolina was to reach out to the USO. The USO has been around for ages, and they are the best at doing whatever needs to be done to help our women and men in uniform. There are in North Carolina about 110 advocacy groups that sit under the USO of North Carolina umbrella. And so creating that partnership with the USO has really given us great access to all of those advocacy groups. We are also looking at ways that we can partner with corporations in our state that have dedicated military outreach. For example, Duke Energy in North Carolina and WGU North Carolina are going to host a jobs fair that will be specific to IT coming up here in a couple of weeks.
And that's with Duke Energy. So you guys collaborated to say, how do we offer and provide more opportunities?
Yes, for military, specifically in the IT jobs that Duke Energy has. We are, Melissa, a state that is jobs without people. And so we're very well positioned to start partnering with companies who especially have veterans outreach programs that they're doing in order to bring these folks into civilian workforce.
We should do a shout out to our military, though. So if you are active duty, veteran, or a dependent, list your branch. Tell us, share your pride.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we certainly are grateful, right?
We are.
Great call out, thanks. And in Texas, we're also looking at some military support.
Yes, so Texas is the second largest state in terms of population of both active duty and veterans. We have about 120,000 active duty military in Texas, primarily at three bases, Fort Hood and Killeen, Texas, which is the largest military installation in the world, Fort Bliss and El Paso, and the Joint Base San Antonio, which is both a combination of Fort Sam Houston Army and Lackland Air Force Base. I think over time we'll see efforts at trying to grow our footprint on those military bases, becoming part of the military fabric of life. I think to Catherine's point, though, it is active duty, but it's also those dependents and spouses. In Texas, we have about 1.6 million veterans, and so you can extrapolate out the number of dependents and spouses. And so we see it as one of our core missions in Texas to serve that population as best as we can. In a city like San Antonio, which is oftentimes called Military City USA, they have one of the highest populations of retired military. Some of it I mentioned before is USAA, which is the insurance and banking that serves retired military and active duty military. They employ about 20,000 people there in San Antonio and have a high need for training for employees, but also they're very interested in helping those transitioning into civilian life. So we're working with them at a partnership level to see how best we can help serve those students.
And Melissa, let's not forget how perfect a fit competency-based education is for our military. They're coming out of service with so many great skills and not necessarily a piece of paper that quantifies those skills. And so our competency-based programs recognize the hard work and all the learning that they've already done, which is really, really amazing.
No question. And the fact that we're bringing it to the state affiliates to support that community within the state, I think is great work for us moving forward. And Tonya, just to round it out, tell us Washington, about what's happening in Washington.
Sure. We have some wonderful bases also in Washington. And I have a strong personal commitment to military, the personnel, and veterans. My father served in the Navy and had a brother and sister-in-law in the Army as well. And I feel that it's part of our way of honoring those soldiers also who served us, and it's our way of serving them as well. In addition to the wonderful things that my colleagues have said, we've also been working with our partners. So as we talk to our education partners or our health care partners, encouraging them to hire veterans as we work with them.
Yes.
And aren't we finding, I know in my work from a national partnership standpoint, it is a forefront priority. And when they find out that it is a priority for us as well to meet the needs of our service folks, that is just, it's so important. And the ability for us to collaborate with our partners in this important area, just, I can't wait to watch how that continues to blossom.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel really strongly about it.
Yes.
Spencer, would you please share the story of our Dunkin' Donuts program that you did? I just think that is such a great story for everyone to hear it.
It gets better with every telling, partner. The numbers just get bigger. Exactly. Pretty soon it'll be in the Guinness Book of World Records or something like that. This is a wonderful partnership that we started with Dunkin' Donuts and with statewide teachers in Nevada. We decided to do this for Teacher Appreciation Week, and I personally believe that the teaching profession is one of the most important, and yet at the same time, it's one of the most unsung. Teachers really need to be appreciated. And so Dunkin' Donuts felt the same way. And so working with many of the franchises across Nevada, we decided that our goal was to get a donut in the hand of every teacher statewide. It was a massive undertaking. Dunkin' was wonderful. We brought a lot of volunteers to the table, and when we put the call out, we had so many community members, so many partners stand up and say, you bet I want to be a part of this. So it wasn't just WGU Nevada distributing the donuts. Although I did my fair share. Yeah. My car smelled like a glazed donut. It was fine. It was. I loved it, right? But we had so many people from the community going to schools, carrying these donuts, going into classrooms. It really was a powerful experience. And then the following year, we decided to improve upon it. We brought in another partner, and that was Lyft. And they said, you bet. You guys just can't deliver all these donuts yourself, so we're going to help you. We're going to bring our Lyft drivers to the table. And for the last 3 years, it has become such a signature event in Nevada where teachers and districts and who knows who, they call us up and say, hey, when are you doing this? We just want to plan for this. We want to be there when you deliver these these donuts. And so it's just one small thing that we decided to do as a university within the state to show our appreciation for what certain professions do. And as I've been listening to the comments and perspectives of my colleagues, I just want to back up a little bit, and because there's a theme that's running, I think, throughout all of these comments, and it's that, I think we as a country, we as states, have gotten smarter about where we need to go as a region, as states, as a country, and so we're working better together. And I think we're coming to the conclusion, finally, it's taken us a while to get there as a country, that human capital is so necessary in this new economy. We in Nevada, we talk about the new Nevada. We learned a lot this last recession where we were so over-indexed in certain professions. And in order to truly diversify, and there's a lot of healthy competition among our states, among our municipalities, but at the heart of that is wanting a skilled workforce. And this is something that WGU does so well with the residents and the citizens that we serve.
Yep, that's so great. Again, it all goes back to that community and the community engagement and how we work together and collaboratively, whether it's with our partners or with communities. It doesn't matter. It's about bringing it together. And you guys, all of you, and all the states are just pretty phenomenal in making that happen. So bravo to all of you for helping facilitate that. I think that's important work. So Angie, in Missouri this past year, you actually were not only chancellor, but you had a dual role of interim academic vice president for the Teachers College. How did that experience benefit the state? Tell us what that ended up bringing to the state.
Right. So I was serving as academic vice president for the Teachers College, which is the largest teachers college in the nation. So shout out to all of our Teachers College
Just
students.
saying.
We're so
Just
proud
saying.
of you. Yeah. So we're doing great work in that side of it. But for me as chancellor, I learned so much about the different little pieces, like deep down into how our curriculum is designed and the kinds of things that we're doing. The deep decisions that are made to make sure that it does fit into the life of a busy adult. So how do we design curriculum so that you know that this is important, but that I can actually then, watch this video and it's going to be 8 minutes long, so I know I can do it on my lunch hour. So that way, as an adult, I can figure out how do I fit school into my busy life. And so learning that deep downside of that as far as how that works, and then really rolling my sleeves up on the student success side. So getting down deep into how do we know when students are successful, how do we know when courses are working and assessments are working, and what are we watching on a very regular basis as a university so that we really do know that we're paving away this barrier-free for our students to get to graduation, because that's all that matters to us. Is like, we want to have students come to us, but we want you to be taking your personal journey to the goal. That what we know is so many of our students, I know that like in our Teachers College, on average our students had attended 3 universities or colleges before coming to WGU and didn't make it across the line. And so what are we going to do to make sure that they do? And so focusing our faculty on that student success and being student obsessed so that they know what's number one. And clearly that's so evident, and it's happening on a regular basis. And so that's why you see our success rates for our graduation and for our graduates. I mean, they're making $21,200 more on average than they made before, within 4 years of graduating. So it's incredible what we're doing for the lives of people. But being in charge of the Teachers College over that time, I was able to really roll my sleeves up and get down and dirty into that kind of data. And it's so rewarding to know how WGU takes seriously what we talk about, which is student success.
Terrific. Thank you. Appreciate that insight. Tonya, question for you.
Yes.
There are a couple of state initiatives happening that WGU Washington has now become a part of, and actually we're leading in a couple of areas. Can you share with us what those initiatives are?
Sure, we shared a few, and so the military, of course, is one, and then the community colleges is another big initiative for us, and that's easy for me to get connected with since I came from the community college community in Washington, and they have 34 community and technical colleges that work very collaboratively. They also are geared up for the guided pathways, and so it's one thing to have articulation agreements with community colleges. It's a very different experience to have a guided pathway for students, so that students can directly articulate into one of our majors and be major ready. And so that is the work ahead of us, is working with those community colleges. And in Washington, if you develop one direct transfer agreement, the 34 community technical colleges share those DTAs or direct transfer agreements, which means any student in that system would then be eligible to be directly admitted into our colleges. And so we're very excited about the work associated with that.
Talk about a value add. If I remember right, that's the Lieutenant Governor, that's the initiative that specifically WGU Washington is going to be.
Yes, they're
being a
also
part
calling
of.
that Complete Washington.
Complete Washington,
Yes.
that's it. Thank you.
And so our Lieutenant Governor, and I believe that several other states are also beginning to talk about that as well, but he's certainly leading the way in talking both with the community colleges, with WGU, of really thinking about how do we approach adult re-engagement across the state. And like Angie was saying, to genuinely show up and build a system that works for adult learners. And so we're very excited about those.
Yeah.
The other areas that we're pursuing is working with underserved populations. So I identify as First Nations, so I'm very excited to work with our tribes in Washington, and so I'm starting some of that work right now, as well as our growing Hispanic population. Or Latinx, as many of them are calling themselves right now. And like I said, women in some IT fields as well. And so we're excited about rolling out some things that we feel will serve some of the local needs of the state. And you mentioned early on the importance of the states, and I do feel like having WGU at the state level to know our communities, to know the needs of our individual states, to build the relationships, really strengthens the university. And so I'm excited to be a part of this.
Created by the states, for the states.
states.
Perfect example right there.
Yes.
Thanks, Tonya. That's
Yes.
terrific. You know, last year, the university gave $200 million in scholarships. So I know in each of the states, there's scholarships that that have been awarded. Anybody want to share a story on their scholarships?
$500,000 to Missourians. So shout out to my Missourians that got some of those scholarships. But
Nice.
bigger important piece is that we have a $5,000 scholarship right now to celebrate our 5th anniversary. So you should go apply today if you're not one of those. And so that's something that we definitely are doing. And one of my favorite things to do is to surprise people with those, like show up at work with a big check, some cookies, and celebrate them in front of people. So
Terrific. So a series of $5,000 scholarships for your 5th year anniversary. Currently underway?
currently underway.
Is there a time frame?
We just extended the time frame. We're planning on awarding 100 $5,000 scholarships.
That's great.
Wow. Over what time frame?
Well, we started in February.
Okay.
And so we just extended it through to August, I believe. And so,
So I think what I'm hearing you
So
say is
now-
there is
now.
opportunity.
Yes.
If you are Missourian,
I surprised someone on live TV with
Go get it.
$5,000 a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
That was
Awesome.
fun.
That's cool.
fun.
That was fun.
That's great. Excellent. Any other scholarship stories?
I think I've got a pretty neat one.
Okay.
So a few months ago, we gave a scholarship by partnering with the Ellen Show to a teacher who wanted to go back to school to get her master's degree, which is so admirable because in North Carolina, we don't have master's pay. And so just for the sake of wanting to be a better teacher for her students, this woman applied for the scholarship. And she was surprised on the Ellen Show. Ellen presented her a check for her scholarship, as well as a check for $10,000. And do you know that this award recipient turned right around and donated the money back to the school? The money that she was given after taxes, she donated back to the school. So I just love that story, and every once in a while when I need a little pick-me-up, I can go on YouTube and watch it all over again because it's such a great story. And we are also, I want to give a shout out to our military folks again. We are getting ready to announce in a couple of weeks 8 scholarships through the USO and WGU North Carolina that will be for our veterans and their families. And we are going to partner with NC Tech as well to announce those scholarships. So we are super excited about that.
There you go, another partnership, another collaborative engagement. This is not competition. This is about doing what's right for the citizens of the state.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
And you can revisit it on YouTube anytime
That's
you
right.
want. Okay.
That's exactly. And you should too, because it's an awesome story.
That's great. Scholarship stories and student stories, employer stories.
Well, I have to do the shout out that back in February, the 100,000th graduate of WGU happened to be a Texan. Was an educator.
Oh, so for overall WGU.
Overall, for the entire university,
okay.
Was a Texan, a teacher in Seguin, Texas, which is about 30 miles outside San Antonio. Got his master's from WGU. His story is amazing. He was in foster care as a child, went into the Navy, and because of the impact of an elementary school teacher, knew that he wanted to become an educator. Was recruited to go to Seguin, finished his master's with us in about 9 months. His goal is to eventually be a principal and superintendent because he wants to affect more lives. And it's that kind of story that I think we see the impact. And in a state like mine, to know that we can have those kind of people committed, educators, is critically important.
Yeah.
You bet.
That's wonderful.
And the influencer, you don't even know that you're an influencer sometimes. You're just going about your business, you're doing your life, and someone picks up on that. I think that it's important. It's important work for all of us.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to note that WGU awards scholarships to adults. So we think of scholarships for high school kids.
Sure.
So they're for adults, but they're not just only needs-based. They're about people who are really thinking that WGU's education model will work for their life, too. And so it's kind of important. I think that so many people think, well, that's for other people, you know, but these scholarships are for all kinds of people. And that's what I love whenever I'm out celebrating them, you know, and celebrating people with those scholarships. It's like seeing that it's not a certain type. It's like all types of people. And that's what's great about WGU is that we work for people who may not have been so great at the school game when they were younger. We work really great for people who are so busy that they can't do other kinds of things. And we work for people who just have that motivation and that grit to get it done and that drive. And so it's so awesome that the model can be personalized to fit the different lives of different people.
You know, another contributor for our states is your advisory boards. Each of you have state influencers, people that represent our 4 colleges and executive roles to help make the state and WGU in the state the best that it can be. So just tell me a little bit about your advisory boards and how they've been valuable to you and to the state.
Well, I think it's fair to say that we can't do it all. There's no way we can do it all.
Absolutely.
Right.
Especially the size of Texas. There's just no possible way. And so with these advisory boards, they're composed of individuals in the state that are respected, are visible, influence policy, thought leadership, and we're fortunate to have them. I feel very fortunate to have the members that I do on my advisory board because as we talk about where the university wants to go in our respective states, I have found their guidance, their advice to be spot on. And that they challenge my thinking, I challenge their thinking, but they're very invested in where the university is going. I saw a little bit of this just a few weeks ago when a regional commencement was held in Las Vegas, and just to see the excitement on the faces of my advisory board members, seeing what the university has done locally, but certainly getting a taste of what it's done regionally and nationally. It was wonderful for them, really invigorating them. I think our challenge is figuring out how we grow our advisory boards in such a way where it reflects where the entire state is trying to go. by industry, by demographics. I'm finding that to be a good challenge to have right now.
No, I would echo that. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a good challenge to have, and Spencer's right. In a state the size of mine, it's both geography, demography, segments of students, segment of industry. But the advisory board is such a valuable resource to help guide my thinking through how WGU Texas can serve more students.
I think of it as like extra eyes.
Yeah.
We've talked so much about by the states, for the states,
Yeah.
and we've talked about partnering. And really, the advisory boards are the people, our members are the people that help us see what is the future need of our state and how are we going to address it. And so that's our goal. Our goal is to be sure that we're meeting the workforce needs of the state that we're serving. And our advisory board helps us do that. And also the demographics. My advisory board clearly challenged us to be sure that our demographics and the diversity of our students is exceeding the diversity of our state. And so, we report on that and we share on that, and we're, creating initiatives related to that so that we're actually meeting the diversity and the population. And Missouri's not the most diverse state in the union, and so, but we're still making sure that we're focusing on that, and that's important. And they can help drive us to do a better job of meeting the needs of our state.
I feel particularly lucky with my advisory board members. One was a founding member of WGU, Sam Smith, who is the former president of Washington State University, and he tells me wonderful tales of the wonderful conversations about how WGU is formed, why, and he continues to remind us of our purpose and our mission. Yeah. I also have the good fortune of having Representative Phyllis Kenney, who is also on my advisory board. And unlike some of the states who were formed based on a governor who came forward and wanted to develop a partnership, in Washington it was through our legislature. And she was one of the individuals who moved forward and spoke on our behalf to create WGU Washington.
That's fabulous.
Yes.
Chancellors, thank you so much. This has been so much fun for me. Right, I'm responsible for the states. You guys make it happen every day. Thank you for the work that you do and what you contribute to WGU. For anyone that's interested in more information on state affiliates or partnerships, jot down something in the comment section. We will absolutely be sure to get back to you promptly. We hope you've enjoyed the WGU Live today, and we look forward to seeing you again. Until next time.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.